Hello, everybody, and welcome to VFR. Today, we are here in the Cessna 310 at Allegheney County Airport. We're going to be departing and continuing on Transcon 2022, headed for the great city of Chicago, Illinois. So, thanks for coming along, and we're going to get fired up here in just a minute. This is going to be a little bit of a longer flight as well. So, that will help get us going, and yeah, we'll get on our way here in a second. Thank you all for coming along today. So hopping into our trusty 866 Tango Whiskey, obviously things are the same as we left it. And let's see. Getting battery off, that'll work. And everything else is off. All of our lights are now reset. And that should do. Okay. And just checking a couple things out. I wish I could hide that. I guess not. So, a couple things to get started. We are in 866 Tango Whiskey again today. We've run down a little bit of fuel. So we have a little ways to go. Let me pull up Sky Vector and we can talk through it a little bit. So, get over to some Toolkit Pro real quick. We are here at Allegheney County Airport, just to the south and east of Pittsburgh. So my basic plan is to fly out over Dayton, Ohio. And in particular, we want to fly over Dayton Wright brothers here, Mike Golf Whiskey. So I'll add that to the flight plan, Mike Golf. Or Mike Golf Yankee, I believe is what it is, yeah. So Mike Golf Yankee, and then I'm also going to add in this VOR here, the Zanesville VOR, ZZ Victor. Zulu Victor, I should say. And that just keeps us well clear of the Columbus class Charlie here. Not that we'll really hit it because we're going to be cruising around 5,500 feet. And this is at 4,800 feet. So we head south, then out. Dayton is also a class Charlie. And if we have to enter the Charlie, it's not a big deal. We just have to be two-way radio communication. But we can head south of the Dayton class Charlie, and we just want to thread the needle between that and the Cincinnati class Bravo here, just to our south. So we're going to thread that needle and just fly up near Indianapolis. So we might even hit the Shelbyville VOR, Sierra Hotel Bravo, and then out to the north, and that actually should get us out of the way. And then finally coming into Chicago. If you've flown into Chicago in the plane in Flight Sim, you might be familiar with some of the VORs around here. A lot of the Chicago arrivals and departures rely on these VORs. So we're going to file directly to the Chicago Heights VOR. And then we're going to go to O'Hare International Airport. Now, do small little planes like our Cessna 310 fly into O'Hare a whole lot? No, they do not. But they do and can fly into O'Hare. So we will do it this way. We will see which way they're landing, and we'll also just keep an eye on the conditions. So once we get a good estimate of that, we can always ask for an IFR clearance in the air if we get a little cold feet about flying VFR into the class Bravo if we have approach online. So we could always file ourselves IFR, especially if Indy Center is offline. We might just go ahead and say, we're going to file IFR in the air direct to O'Hare, and then they'll work us in like any other IFR traffic. The other thing to keep in mind is obviously there's a bit of cloud layer here. And we need to figure out what the weather is actually in, the weather's going to be. Coming back to the stream just to show, we have clouds, and not an insignificant amount of clouds, and they seem kind of low. So we may need to kind of go IFR to get out of here as well, in which case we will file a IFR flight plan and go from there. But those are kinds of the things we need to be doing to start. Let me just get working with a new monitor / a TV off to my right, just to get chat and everything up at the same time. But that should do it. So thank you all, as always, for coming along here. Transcon 2022, we're continuing our trip across these United States. We departed initially out of New York, Long Island, and we're now heading over to the west to Chicago. After Chicago, we'll probably run a poll on that throughout the night to see which way we should go, whether we should go through the Great Plains states, North Dakota, Minnesota, Montana, and everything else, or we should go through or we should go down Route 66 as the other kind of commonly suggested route. So some Toolkit Pro, let's get that back up here. And let's see. We've got METAR showing the 6,500 foot ceiling overcast. We should be able to get out of here under that. What is field elevation? At Pittsburgh is going to be 1,600 feet. So we should be able to get out 3,500 feet. Again, we got to stay below 3,000, below 4,000 here on the outer edges of the Pittsburgh class Bravo airspace. But at the moment, no ATC online at in Cleveland Center. So we'll keep an eye on that if they do pop up. But for now, we're going to clear ourselves out of Allegheney County Airport. Weather, yeah, so weather is fine. Overcast, 11C. I never know. I forget how you get it back into freedom units. But should be about 50 degrees. 4 knots, wind 110 at 4. 10 mile visibility, good visibility on the ground. And it looks like we'll be taking off. We can take off runway 10 just to be safe here at Allegheney. So let's go get that set up in here. We're going to create a new flight and do it the manual way. We are leaving Alpha Golf Charlie for Ord. And we're going to throw down Dayton as our first alternate and Indianapolis as our second alternate. And that's just going to let me open up some charts for Allegheney County Airport. The airport diagram, and no, we're not going to worry about a sit or anything like that for now. So Allegheney County Airport, obviously we've got runway 10 and 28 are the big ones, and then a smaller 13 and 31. We're going to plan on runway 10, so if we use the cheat moving map, we're over on the west ramp facing towards the east. So what we need to do is essentially turn left coming out and taxi via, looks like taxi via Alpha. Simple enough. So Super 2019, welcome aboard. This is Microsoft Flight Simulator. Snip McSnips, welcome back, man. This is this is all in the 310 at the moment. So we're going to try and make it across all in the 310, just mostly for state saving reasons. Because it lets me use this airplane a bunch more and leave it off. And then, yeah, so this is Microsoft Flight Simulator. Thank you all for coming along. So let's get this thing fired. I'm ready to go. Let's get this battery on, get some power on. I left the light on last time. That's okay. I am going to refill us up to full tanks in both tanks. Full fuel in both tanks, I should say. If it'll let me. And then we'll just take another half in the tip tanks as well. As far as we're loaded out, we've got passengers front, right, and nose and rear baggage set up. Avatars hidden. Everything else is gone. Let's close up the door and get started. The last thing to do is make sure we go to Unicom 122.8. 122.8. Once I get avionics on. So, getting ready for the start. Let's get fired up here. Nav lights should be on. Let's go ahead and put our beacon on too. We're getting ready to thinking about starting our engines. Let's open up the window as well. Altimeter today. I went through the weather and I didn't read the altimeter. It was 3012. Weather's been real rough in the wake of Hurricane Ian. Not really, I mean, not obviously hurricane on this side of the country. Or this part of the country, but real rainy, real gloomy. So this is 3012 is what it's telling me. Wind still 1104 knots. All right. So that's all pretty good. How are my passengers feeling? The cabin's cool and steady. It's going to get colder. So we'll probably need heat on this one. And we'll also maybe need to think about de-ice. So it'll be real important for me not to forget prop de-ice. All right. Batteries are on. Let's start the right engine here. Right magnetos are on. Let's bring our prop RPM full forward. We'll richen up the mixture for the right engine and crack the throttle. Let's lean down and make sure we have fuel on. Right main, and we'll open up the left main too. Cowl flaps are closed. All of this stuff is closed. And all of these lights are off, so that's pretty good. All right, so let's give this a try. And that'll come to life, although, do I have parking brake on? It doesn't feel like I do. Let me bump up Flight Sim 2. Can't remember why I took it down. I think I was watching football and flying on VATSIM. Alright, so that's the right engine. Mixture's rich. Magneto's on. We can also go low boost pump after start. And we'll start the left engine here. A little bit of throttle. Wasn't good for my starter, probably. And we'll let all that warm up. Okay. Good engine start. Avionics on. We've got already 122.8 in there. We can go low boost pump here. Everything else is just about ready to go. We can turn on some of these lights. And again, the weather is, it's all reporting VFR to the west, but just we're going to be dodging clouds probably for a lot of this flight. Cabin looks good. Let's go into our flight plan and just set up just the basics of what I talked through earlier. We've got Kilo Alpha, Golf Charlie, Allegheney County. Set destination of Ord. And en route, we're going to go Zanesville. We're going to go Kilo Mike Golf Yankee. That's Dayton and Wright brothers. And then Shelbyville. Sierra Hotel Bravo. And finish it off with Chicago Heights. EGT. And I've been saying this is the long haul. That's kind of misleading because it's not really a long haul. It's more of a long for me haul. Kilo 5 Chicago. That's what we want. So that's all punched in. We got a little bit of a magenta line here, and then we'll just bug the heading that it's telling me initially. We'll continue out to the west, though. So let's just bug that. So I remember which way to point the plane. Okay, we got engines up and running. Everything looks pretty good again. We'll make sure that pitot heat comes on. We can close up the window. Not that I yelled clear prop. And yeah. Actuate, de-ice, all that is good. Fuel pumps are on. The next thing we're probably going to do, we're going to be going higher anyway, so let's just go ahead and lean into it and start getting some heat in. So we'll keep that open up the defrost and cabin air just a little bit, and hopefully that'll start cooling off, or heating up our passengers. Today we are squawking 1200. We'll go ahead and squawk mode Charlie and just do one last check, make sure I'm not in controlled airspace according to the VATSIM network, and I am not. Okay, we are ready to roll. We are on 122.8, so let's go ahead and make a call. And Goldfish Brain, what did I say we were taxiing via? Runway 10 via Alpha. Allegheney County traffic. Twin Cessna 866 Tango Whiskey is taxiing to runway 10 via Alpha, departing out to the west. Allegheney County. I wonder what their call sign really is. I guess it's Allegheney. Yeah, it's Allegheney. Okay. Let's pull parking brake. We'll do a run-up when we get down to the end. We've got some ground traffic. This is also actually, I think, my first flight using the new model matching from FSLTL or whatever it is. Should be interesting. I've flown a couple flights, but not on VATSIM. I had to load in the model matching rules. He yelled at me for not having that. So we'll see. That'll probably come into handy. That might come in handy once we get to O'Hare. I doubt we're the only people going to O'Hare tonight. So we'll have to work ourselves in there. It'll actually probably be a little bit easier if we have ATC at O'Hare. Is this the runway? Am I on Charlie? Yeah, this is the runway and I'm on Charlie. So we'll just loop it around. Or I'm on Alpha, I should say. Let's just do a little loop and go back the right way. But so I'm excited to see the model matching come through, even maybe not on this flight so much. So we've got some arriving traffic coming into Pittsburgh. So this will be a fun flight for a few reasons. We're crossing over. We're going to leave the mountains behind us. We went through the mountains last time in our Gettysburg to Allegheney. We're going to leave the mountains behind, and we're going to cruise over Ohio. Now, Ohio is a state that is pretty... I've driven across many times. It is kind of hilly in the east and really flat in the west. So it's kind of this transitional Midwestern state. But the notable one we're flying over, well, Dayton's cool for two reasons. Probably more than two reasons. Number one, it has the National Museum of the Air Force, which is a really cool museum. If you're over in Dayton, you should check that out. And number two, it's the home of the Wright brothers. Before they did all their stuff in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, they lived in Dayton, Ohio. So that's where we're going to be flying over, an airport named for them. I don't actually know what Mike Golf Yankee's connection to them is and where their actual field and shop in Dayton or in the Dayton area, but a little bit of aviation history for you. Let's come down to the end, and we'll do a little bit of a run-up here while I also get our VFR flight set up. And some Toolkit Pro. Again, wind 110 at 4, not a game changer for us, but good to have. So let's point ourselves into the wind, parking brake on, and we'll bring the power up. Aiming for something around 1600 RPM. And I'm doing this mostly because we've now been flying this particular call sign airframe for a while. I wish I could type it in here. We're going to depart GC and head to Chicago O'Hare. Midway.
For traffic Delta 2637, about 15 miles to the south on the Pecos 7 arrival, and sped 28 left for Delta 2637.
All right. That's pretty good. Let's test our magnetos out first. Take off the right magneto, looking for a drop. Little drop. Back to both. Left magneto. Super 2019, we are at Kilo Alpha Golf Charlie. Kilo Alpha Golf Charlie, Allegheney County. Back to both. Not getting a ton of drop here, but that's all right. Left magnetos a little bit more. Back to both, and we'll try the left out too. That all appears to be in order. Let's just wipe out the props. Still spinning, so that's a good sign.
This for traffic Delta 2637 is about 12 miles from ILS runway 28 left for Pittsburgh traffic.
And back to full. All right, we'll bring the power back, and then let's just brief what we're going to do here. Now, I wonder how I change brightness. There's got to be a way. And then time-wise, I did want to change time, so we're at noon time, noon local time, so that's good. So we've got all that's fine. So Allegheney County, obviously we got the Pittsburgh Bravo here. We're going to come off the runway. We're going to plan to go to the right just to stay out of the way of any big Delta jets coming into Pittsburgh. Heading off to the right, and we'll point ourselves in the westerly direction, 270, to intercept that magenta line. But generally flying out towards the Zanesville VOR. Now, if we were good pilots, we would pick out what the Zanesville VOR is. And that is a frequency of 114.95. 114.
Traffic Delta 2637, about 10 miles ILS, runway 28 left.
95. For the Zanesville VOR, and then after that is Shelbyville. We're also going to overfly the airport. Is that a 6? 116.15? I believe so. 116.15. And we'll throw that on nav2. I'm going to set that up, that second screen up as that. We are on VLOC mode, so that's good. And while we're here on the ground, before things get crazy, we can set up. We're going to want to track 265 inbound to Zanesville, so we're already pretty close. But that's 27, that's 265. And we'll bug both of those. All right, let's extend our landing lights. Taxi lights can come on. We'll put strobe lights on. No de-ice for now. Remember, ceiling is about 6,500 feet, so we're going to want to stay below that. We'll climb out at 3,500 feet. Should get us plenty above. That should get us plenty above any terrain around us, while still keeping us safe. All right, let's go ahead and parking brake off. Spin it around. And get going while I go through my mental checklist of everything. Is my cabin really warming? It's okay. Allegheney County traffic. Twin Cessna 866 Tango Whiskey. Taking runway 10. We're departing out to the west. Allegheney.
Pittsburgh traffic Delta 2637 is about turn to left base ILS runway 28.
Aviator David, how's it going? Welcome aboard. So let's go full power. Should hit about 30 inches of manifold pressure. And away we go. Airspeed's alive. That's the red line. That's 90 knots. Let's go flying. Positive rate. Gear up. Didn't use flaps. All that is up.
Pittsburgh traffic Delta 2637 is on a 6-mile final runway.
I don't know why the taxi clicks like that when the gear comes up. Maybe it's an automatic thing. And let's just zoom back in on our G-map. So we're going to come right off the runway. And again, we're climbing up to 3,500 is what we're aiming for. So we're climbing up now. Let's come off the power and come off the RPM a little bit, get us out into the green as for our climb. It's at 2,500 inches of, or 25 inches of manifold pressure. Set about 2,500 RPM. While we make the turn out. And so yeah, if you're wondering what the difference between northern West Virginia, eastern or western Pennsylvania, and eastern Ohio is, it's nothing. It's just hilly like this all the way through. So again, we're going to point ourselves in the westerly direction.
Delta 2637 on that 4.5 final runway 28 left for Delta 2637.
course, our weather gave us 6,500 foot ceiling. I'm not sure if I'm buying that in sim. It seems a little lower, so we might hang out here. Well, we'll go up to 3,500 and see. But you know, even though it's overcast at 6,500 feet is still, you know, you can still maintain VFR in that condition. We do have some weather to the west. See one of the big steel plants. Obviously, again, if you weren't on the last flight, Pittsburgh is that patch over there. So that's Pittsburgh. That's Three Rivers, the Monongahela, the Ohio, and what's the third? I forget. Oh, and the Allegheney River. So we'll hang out here at 3,500 feet, and I'm just going to hand fly this out, but it's different from the hills. I mean, West Virginia further south just seems it's a big rolling mountains, lots of mountains, smaller mountains. It's not quite anything like the Blue Ridge or the Alleghenies that we flew over. It's less ridge-like, and it's just more of a sea of small mountains. But out here it's hills, and then we're going to hit a point in Ohio once we get out of the Ohio River Valley, and it's going to become plains, just plains. So thank you all for coming along here. We're on flying Transcon 2022. I'm still descending. That's not what I want to do. We're flying Transcon 2022, our east to west transcontinental trip. So we're flying across the United States in our trusty Milviz/Blackbird 310R, November 866 Tango Whiskey. And along the way, we're checking out some cool places, talking about things, and just generally hanging out, having a good time as we fly across the country in multiple legs. I'm still coming up. So not really a high pressure thing, but a good fun flight, and I've enjoyed. The thing I really like about these kinds of trips is it gives you time to sit around. It gives you time to sit with an airplane, fly an airplane, hang out in an airplane, get to know an airplane.
Pittsburgh Rapid Delta 2637, clear, runway 28, head box, route 5,
So, it's fun to hang out in an airplane and fly an airplane repeatedly and get to know it. I mean, one of the first ones I did in flight sim was the DA-62 up the Rhine River from, I think it was Switzerland, up all the way to the Netherlands, which is a good fun one. But just things that get you flying the same airplane over and over again are always fun for me. For someone who flies a lot of airplanes, a lot of different airplanes sometimes for the channel, it's nice to hang out in one. And the 310's fun. It has a lot of cool features. We're gonna, for the most part, ignore this and go up the try to fly with our HSI here. We are squawking VFR. We are on Unicom. Just doing a quick traffic and ATC check. Cleveland Center is offline, Indy Center is offline, and Chicago Center is offline. We do have, we have Chicago O'Hare ground if we want it. So. Cruising out, and it looks like we've got some clear skies off our nose, so that'll help too. Get a little external view over the hills.
Pittsburgh Rapid Delta 2637, cross the runway 28, center and Victor Delta 2637.
Thank you all for coming along. We're cruising pretty well. Once we pick up this radial, I'll go ahead and set up the pole for today.
Rapid Delta 2637, runway 28, center, we're going to attack Delta 17 for Delta 2637.
Props to the Delta for good Unicom communication. I'm not always so good at that. Good. Let's just do a quick look out of our engines. Everything is good. We've got Fuel in the tanks. Things are in the green arc. And one thing I did do, I'm digging in a little bit more to this airplane, watching some real Cessna 310. Some of real Cessna 310 YouTube, because of course that exists. And it's a fun plane to watch how people operate it in real life. I was looking at some weight and balance stuff, was really what was interesting to me. Just kind of the configurations you can do with this plane. Also, you know, I learned that you can use this menu, it just doesn't update based on the tablet. So, that's a known bug. Yeah, so we have a little spreadsheet for weight and balance now. I didn't use it on this flight, but yeah, apparently the nose baggage compartment makes a huge difference for, you know, making this a useful airplane for people. Picking up something approximating the line now. Let's see if it comes in. So once we're here, I'm going to set up autopilot. I'm going to point yourself in the right direction. Just set up a roll and pitch autopilot while I get the pole set up. So, where did we go? The question's going to be, where do we fly from here? Route 66? That would be basically through, I believe, Kansas City, Arizona, to California. Yelling at me. And then we could call them Great Plains. Which basically takes us to Minnesota, the Dakotas, and Montana. Or we could make a beeline for Denver, basically. Straight across. Let's see if that comes up. We're going to overfly Wheeling Airport, which we can veer a little, well, we can climb up a little bit here. So that's a class Delta with a ceiling of 3,700 feet. So we're going to put ourselves, we'll put ourselves around 4,000 feet. Climb up to 4,500. Again, I've kind of penciled in 5,500 for our cruise altitude, and we'll see from there. Yeah, this should be a 2.5 hour flight, more or less. I've said 2.5 hours with a speed of 170. The straight shot is just about 2 hours of flying between, if we drew a straight line between Pittsburgh and Chicago. But we're kind of taking a more scenic southerly route. The straight shot would take you closer to Detroit and over South Bend, Indiana. We'll pop up to 4,500 feet as we leave the clouds behind us. Looks like rain and fog to our south. Things better to our north. Clear skies ahead. Getting ready to climb over and then over Wheeling, and I think we're about to go into West Virginia if we're not already. And then beyond from there. That's about 4,500 feet. Let speed come back up and we'll set. Somewhat aggressive, 2,500 inches of in full pressure. We can also start thinking about leaning out our engine a little bit. Leaning out the mixture a little bit. So Wheeling Airport, where's Wheeling Airport? Going to be right underneath us, I believe. Fly basically directly over it, but I believe this is the city of Wheeling on, again, what I believe is the Ohio River. And this is that little bit of West Virginia that sticks up and out of, let's pull up a map. I'm at 5,000. Oh yeah, Sim Toolkit Pro will show us the best. We've got some preset behind us. We're running away from it. But you can see if you zoom out, ignore the ARTCC boundaries. West Virginia's here. It's got this shape with this horn kind of coming out here. Almost to the point of hitting Pittsburgh. So we're over this little sliver of West Virginia right now. We're going to cross over Wheeling, the city of Wheeling, to our south. And I believe Wheeling Airport is around this area too. So it's Wheeling, West Virginia, closer to Ohio and Pittsburgh than you would think, kind of, or than I always think. Can't speak for you. So we're heading for the Zanesville VOR. Weather looks like it is improving greatly here in a few minutes. We're going to keep the climb going to 5,500 feet now. And hopefully get out of this doom and gloom a little bit. As we officially cross the river into the state of Ohio. That's 5,500 feet. This is our filed cruising altitude for now. We can go a little higher if we want to, but I don't really see a need at the moment. This airplane is a little tricky to get trimmed down nicely for level flight. I do feel like I have to fight it a little bit. We got time to mess with all that. And now, since this will be a flight of 90 minutes or more, we can also switch over our main tanks. We departed... oh, I don't know, 15 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago. So we can say, around 9 o'clock, we'll be thinking about switching over to the aux tanks. Because we're supposed to let the mains run for 90 minutes at least. And I say long haul in this plane, this isn't really a long haul for this plane. This plane can go up to, I mean, 4.5 hours on the main tanks is, you know, kind of the stated calculated range. And you can get up to 6.5 with little baggage and aux tanks filled up too. We're going to point ourselves in the general direction for now and just hold 5,500. So thank you all for coming along here today on Transcon 2022. We've got fun time here in the skies over Ohio. So we've departed Allegheney County. We said goodbye to Pennsylvania and West Virginia, crossing into Ohio. We got 2 states to go after that. We will hit Indiana and we will hit Tennessee, or not Tennessee. We'll hit Indiana and then Illinois right at the end. Let's let that come back down to 5,500 feet. Stop. Blowing that out. We can also keep leaning the mixture a bit. Now, I said it's 4.5 hours. That is with a more range-friendly configuration. We're in a pretty heavy cruise config right now. We can pull up the tables in a little bit. See how close we can get to Zanesville. Again, if you're just joining us, don't forget to vote in the poll to see where we're going next. We are going to hit Chicago. And from Chicago, we can really do whatever we want. 3 options I have proposed. Number 1 is kind of cutting across the northern part of the country. It might get tougher and tougher as the winter continues in this airplane. But that's an option, which would basically be going Chicago to Minnesota or similar. And then across the Dakotas to Montana, Idaho, ending up somewhere in Washington or Northern California, most likely. The other option, well, one other option, is to cut straight to Denver, which would probably take you to St. Louis. So Chicago to St. Louis, Kansas City, maybe Omaha, and then across to Denver, and then we make our crossing of the Rockies at Denver, which could work. You get up to Denver, you're pretty high up already. So that'll be kind of more of a technical challenge in this airplane crossing the Rockies, no matter where we do it. And then the last option is one that's been proposed a couple times, flying Route 66 south and west from Chicago. So Route 66, if we can pull up the map. So Route 66, if we're at Chicago, there are a couple scenarios. Chicago, we are, you know, once you've hit Chicago, you've started the journey, really. So you could go Chicago to Minneapolis, across one of the Dakotas, and then across Montana, and all the way out this way. That's one option. Chicago, we could go to St. Louis, and then, you know, you could also go to Des Moines and then across Nebraska to Denver, but that would kind of be where we'd end up, right? Denver would be the jumping off point for the last part, needed Salt Lake City too. Or Route 66 really goes kind of this way, so it goes out of Chicago and it just goes southwest across, I don't know if it hits Oklahoma City or not, I was Googling it, I think it goes actually further north. So Chicago down through Kansas City, clips this corner of Colorado, then down through New Mexico, Arizona, to Los Angeles would be where we'd end up in that scenario. So make sure you register your opinion in the poll if you're just joining us. And then we'll figure out where we go next. I mean, that's probably the longest route. Routes going Route 66 all the way down. Probably the longest. The quickest would probably be cutting across straight through Denver or Wyoming, or maybe even going north with some great circle stuff involved. I'm not really sure. And so what we're talking about, this very hilly area here, the Ohio River Valley. And even these hills are going to go away at some point. We're going to be left with flat, open earth for a number of hours of flying, and we'll have to talk about something other than the hills, which which is unfortunate for me. But thank you for coming along, and if you have anywhere that you think we should stop, make sure you drop that in the chat, or you can comment on any video, and we can see what we can do. I'm gonna refill my water, so let's go on autopilot, and just hold this general configuration. Now I'm keeping an eye on ATC, still looks like Indy. We're about to cross into Indy Center's jurisdiction, and then we'll make the turn into Chicago just around when we're hitting Indianapolis. Right. Still making good progress towards Zanesville now. I hope y'all are going well, enjoying World Update 10 or whatever else you're flying these days. For me, a lot of Cessna 310s. I think we're going to do more in-depth tutorials like I was talking about with this one. Just to dig in a little bit to an airplane. I've always admired the people who make really good tutorials, really detailed tutorials, series of 20 or 30 things that really teach you how to fly an airplane. And I don't know any airplanes that well. But there's a couple that I might, you know, learn in that detail one day. I feel like the 737 is well, that's well covered by other people. Same with any Airbus. You know, could there be like a 757? Maybe, but is that different enough? But, so 310 for now. We'll look at maybe doing Piper Arrow too, if that kind of takes. But I think the first one of those is going to be coming out. We'll see when we schedule it. Probably next week. It's been filmed. But more of an informational video about how some of the people in real life attack these things, and that's why real Cessna YouTube is fun. So thank you all for coming along. If you just joined us, we are on Transcon 2022, cruising over the last hills we're going to see for a long time. Last hills till we get the Rockies, hit the Rocky Mountains. Although we might go something. It doesn't matter. We got a lot of flat United States ahead of us here on Transcon 2022. We're going to be crossing the U.S. We left to New York 2 legs ago, and I don't know, 3 hours of flight time ago. So we're gonna knock out another 2.5 hours tonight, and then maybe we'll get a longer haul too. To maybe do a real long haul in the 310 would be fun. Because again, in these airplanes, most airplanes really, we're not usually pushing ourselves to get that far and really push to the limits of performance. There's not that many reasons to load up a jet, a big jet with full fuel and passengers, and still make it work. Look that up. Looks like we got Midway Tower online. Funny how it works out, because we're almost, I mean, yeah, there's some traffic into Atlanta. Probably a streamer flying it. Hard to say. Some traffic into Atlanta. Is there some West Coast action going on? Yeah, a little bit. No ATC. And we saw Midway. We got Midway Tower popped up though, so that's fun. Not that we're going to Midway. So, good stuff all around. But some traffic into O'Hare. I don't know. Let's see. How many arrivals does O'Hare have right now? Do we have O'Hare depart or arrival? Now we might have O'Hare approach. At the moment, 6 arrivals, 9 departures. So we're coming up on Zanesville now. Zulu Victor. And, yeah, we're... Tonal shift. Anyway, Zanesville. Coming up on Zanesville, we're gonna make... we're gonna basically keep the same heading. But fly towards... towards Mike Golf Yankee. Not doing it for me. Mike Golf Yankee. And if I take off the actual one, that should be fine. So, Kilo Mike Golf Yankee. Let's check it out. So, this is the Dayton Wright Brothers Airport, public airport. 10 miles south of downtown Dayton, Miami Township, in parts of Montgomery County. Used to be the Montgomery County Airport. No tower. On the grounds, it has a replica of the Wright Brothers hangar, which was on Huffman Prairie, in the Dayton Aviation Heritage National Historical Park. And where precisely would that be? If we go to Edge. This is the Huffman Prairie Flying Field, which is part of the Dayton Aviation Heritage National Historical Park. Now again, you can see the map. It's all kind of, well, southeast of Ohio. Pretty cool place. I haven't been. But it does seem interesting. They have a visitor center. Interestingly, so much of the Dayton neighborhood where Orville and Wilbur Wright had lived and worked had been destroyed by the 1970s. Highway projects, all sorts of bad stuff. And then, yeah, they had moved one of the bicycle shops from Dayton to Michigan for Henry Ford. So the Wright brothers had a bunch of them. This one, the fourth bicycle shop, they turned it into a National Historical Park. And then that gets us back to Huffman Prairie Flying Field. So yeah, just kind of cool. And I mean, for a lot of the early history of aviation, all you really needed was a field. A field and a catapult, and you could go flying. So that's pretty cool. I think that's the hangar we're talking about. With catapult. And this is all stuff we're going to fly over. So again, obviously most associated with Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, but again, they lived and worked and owned their shops in Ohio. So we're coming a little bit to the south. We can go ahead and go into a heading mode. Let's go ahead and knock that to the west and go into, not nav, but I wanted heading mode. And then the final answer on heading was to be 266. So a heading of 266. There's one more notch to the right. So we'll go ahead and move that heading in. To right to pick that up. Not that it fully matters because we're not going into the VOR. So the Zanesville, we could fly outbound from the Zanesville VOR, I suppose. You can start to see the hills ending and fields beginning. We're at 5,500 feet. Not a ton of traffic up around and above us. But once we're getting into O'Hare, we should be really prime time arrival. Maybe arrival bank into O'Hare is what I'm almost thinking. So just messing around with some of the levers to put ourselves into a cruise configuration. So we're aiming for a 75%. Just keep an eye on that. I can't see what the gauge is. That's about 100 pounds per hour. Is what we're looking at there. So we have right now 200 pounds in the main tanks. So that should be just fine. We have about 2 hours of flying left. But if something comes up. Looks like we're picking up the VOR outbound. And goodbye hills. So if I'm not mistaken, this out here is Buckeye Lake. And Buckeye Lake means we're getting pretty close to Columbus. So here you can see this lake here. It's actually a VFR reporting point for probably entry into the Columbus class Charlie. Now we're going to stay just outside the Charlie. We can also overfly it because we're at 5,500 feet. But yeah, so we're going to be passing just south of the city of Columbus, Ohio, the capital of the state of Ohio, home of the Ohio State University, which mixed feelings about, and some other things. Obviously, Columbus International Airport is named for John Glenn of astronaut fame. John Glenn, I have to refresh my memory on my astronaut history. But he was one of the Mercury 7, so if you've seen the movie Right Stuff or read the book, he was the first American to orbit the Earth. So Columbus International Airport is named for him. You also get some Eddie Rickenbacker in and around Columbus. Let's look out the nice bay window here. Save that as a custom view. Thank you all for coming. If you haven't voted yet in the poll, make sure you vote in the poll. Where do we want to fly after here? So once we get to Chicago, where are we going? Are we going Route 66? Are we going across the Great Plains, Minnesota, North Dakota? Do you want to be cold and flat until we hit Montana? Or do you want to go make a beeline for Denver? Maybe the shortest way possible. Make sure you register your opinion in our stream poll. So we're now into the flat part of Ohio. I wasn't lying. Columbus is off to our north. We should be staying just south of the Columbus class Charlie Airport airspace. Which is, I mean, the airport for Columbus is on the northwest side of town. It's the Ohio State University Airport, if I'm not mistaken. Which gives us a little room to skirt out to the south. So let's see if we can get any skyline coming in. Cruising out past Columbus on our way. And then Dayton, if we're looking at it, we're probably about halfway on this leg, judging by the chart. So another 55 miles or so until we cross over Dayton Airport. Obviously, Dayton is home to Dayton Airport, as well as Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. So Dayton Airport is kind of north of the city of Dayton. And Kilo Foxtrot Oscar is Wright-Patterson, one of the busier Air Force bases. And there you can see a little bit of Columbus skyline coming in. There's Columbus. Let's pull on this and listen to some ATC too. Then off our nose is Rickenbacker. Let's see. That's Rickenbacker International Airport. Two runways. We've got a 2-3 and a 2-3 left and a 2-3 right. A smaller terminal FBO. So again, generally Glen is going to be the larger airport in Columbus. Let's see if we can spot that out there. Is that it? That might be, yeah, maybe. Neither airport is huge. You have not? Snap. Yeah, so it's not up to date, really. But those are the flags that, of the places we've been. I've also added some stickers for some of the flights we've done on the channel. We did a Grand Canyon. Boise was one of the streams. Las Vegas. So I try to find a kitschy sticker to throw on the side. And then, yeah, so we've done a few. Montana, Idaho, Nevada, and Arizona. Legally, we should be adding New York, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and now Ohio. But also the Bahamas. Well, I can't remember what. I think Bahamas is why you should fly. So it's a nominal thing. I'm not up to date on everything that's flown. 866 Tango Whiskey's flown in. But I'm used to updating the. I have the paint.net file for this livery anyway with the registration, so it's all kind of a custom drive. So I'd throw that on every now and then when I think about updating the flags. So yeah, small fun thing, and it's pretty easy to do that if you have a livery you like without a registration on it. Paint.net is your best tool though. Best tool for that. So south of Columbus and the state capital of the state of Ohio. And on now to Dayton. So Dayton, another 50 miles probably. Again, Dayton's a major Air Force presence. Via Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Lots of heavy transport, lots of C-17s, stuff like that. And then who flies to Dayton, I wonder? That's Kilo Delta Alpha Yankee. Of course, that brings up the radio station, not the radio station from California, not Heyday Airport. James M. Cox, Dayton International Airport, which is owned by the state of Dayton. It's at an elevation of 1,009 feet. A lot of Allegiant, American Eagle, Delta, Delta Connection, and United Express. United Express to O'Hare and Washington Dulles. American Eagle kind of all over to Charlotte, O'Hare, Dallas. Delta just to Atlanta. But they have connections to Atlanta, Detroit, and LaGuardia. I wonder if they run CRJs on that flight. Apparently the Dayton International Airport was featured, although not really, in the movie Eagle Eye, in the 2008 film, starring Shia LaBeouf. But the actual scenes in the airport was filmed at LAX, not Dayton International Airport. Not familiar with the film, haven't seen it, so I don't know, what all that means. But an interesting pop culture connection to the James M. Cox Dayton International Airport. Oh, and it's headquarters of PSA, one of the American Eagle regional carriers. Interesting. And we're listening to DC Center at the moment with no one else online. We also have Atlanta Center to the south. We're in Cleveland Center at the moment. We're going to be in Cleveland Center, or we're in Indy Center, I should say, for the moment. We're going to be in Indy Center for a minute. We do have some airplanes coming around. We got a Southwest BWI to Midway overhead. We saw some contrails there. And there's one behind us. I don't see, let's see, what is this? So that right there, that looks like it's going the wrong way, though. Maybe it's this one. No, that's me.
Sorry, what did you win at?
Interesting.
It's center vector 476, level, flight level 190. 476, launch, center level,
So, that, I'm trying to figure out what that contrail is. So basically, Sim Toolkit Pro I've got, I have a Southwest 802 heading north, so that, I guess that could be going north. That might be Southwest 802, Washington Dulles to Midway. It doesn't look like, we're not really going left to right. So Southwest 4155, BWI to Midway probably out. The only other one I could think is, I mean, at first I thought it was 1755 going, I clicked on the right one, yeah. Going from BWI to Midway, well, maybe. That's really what they're doing. That doesn't seem quite right. I don't think he's pointed the right direction in that case. So it could be one of these going to Midway. They're out. So that's actually both of them. So these are just backwards. Let's look here. So looking back in SimWorld, we got those two contrails. So those two are those guys there. So I got a little bit of a data issue. But not bad. Some VATSIM network flyers. See, I can't see the other Southwest. So we're now out of there. Let's go ahead and go over to GPS mode. Since we're getting a little ways away from the Zanesville VOR. Let's go ahead and follow our trusty magenta line. To wonder what that one is, what this road is. Yeah, so it looks like that's I-71. So Interstate 71 heading down to the southwest. That would, if we followed that road, we would end up in Cincinnati, Ohio. And again, like I said, we're going to kind of thread the needle between the Dayton Class Charlie and the Cincinnati Bravo to our south. So we're going to go through kind of a gap there. Not that we could overfly Dayton too. It's a Charlie. It's not that tall, but we could do it. It just helps to sometimes see where these cities are at a slightly slower pace. We got runways down there.
74, but we've got a 45 knot quarter tailwind Delta 1523.
That's.
Okay,
I wonder what that airport is.
Delta 1523.
So that's actually the Wilmington Airport, according to my Sky Vector. It's got a 10,000 foot runway. Runway 22 right that we're looking at down there. Interesting. Wilmington, Ohio. And that's north and west of Cincinnati. That's a big runway for a kind of small. Two big runways for kind of a small town. So it's a former Air Force base. DHL had owned it previously, but now it's donated to Clinton County. It was formerly Clinton County Air Force Base. Built in 1929. Air Force and tactical airlift stuff happening there. And then again, must have run out a lot of DHL stuff out of there, which accounts for the larger runways. And interestingly, Amazon Air is a big user of this airport. So they run a lot of 767s, or have run a lot of them outside 767s. Until they moved over to Cincinnati a little while ago. Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky International Airport, obviously the main airport kind of this region, but that was kind of an interesting smaller feeder cargo. Not smaller feeder cargo, but interesting. But it's just funny, flying across the U.S., there's all sorts of big airports with big long runways. I mean that... What is Heathrow? So I mean, London Heathrow has two runways at 12,000 feet. So it's just funny. It's one of the big differences I think between flying in the U.S. and Europe is there's just so many airports out here with big long runways and lots of taxi space, and a lot of them are old Air Force bases. But I mean, even that's a bigger airport than London Stansted, which is not insignificant. Bigger by a lot, because you have two runways, two 10,000 or 9,000 foot runways. And it's just kind of out there in southern Ohio. But it's one of the big differences. I mean, when I first started flying VATSIM, I watched a lot of European streamers, and it's just it's different enough. I think it doesn't, on some level, it doesn't matter what you watch and what you pay attention to when you're learning how to do VATSIM and stuff like that. But Europe does add a lot of complications to things, like backtaxing on an airport, on a runway, is pretty foreign in the U.S. Even pretty tiny airports have taxiways. So it's you know, you can get some of the mountain airports out in North Carolina or in the Rockies, like Aspen. No, not even Aspen. Aspen has taxiways. So it's just funny to pay attention to some of that. And snip Rantoul, Illinois. Tiny town, huge airport. Running, yeah, big long runways. And again, what is Rantoul, Illinois? And I mean, I guess, and the key to all these, the reason why all these really exist, that's Kilo Tango India Papa is Rantoul, the National Aviation Center. But that used to be Chanute Air Force Base. So again, all these things are Air Force bases designed to hold big, huge bombers in the middle of nowhere where the government could get land cheap and easy. So, you know, a lot of them. But that's kind of one of the reasons I like DCA a lot, is because it's kind of a throwback. It's small and pressed up against the river, whereas a lot of the big international airports in the U.S. are all kind of the same. Lots of big parallel runways, a central terminal, lots of space, a huge ramp. I mean, there's just a lot of differences, but none of them are that substantial. I mean, it's all the same. Differences between Europe and the U.S. are a lot of the same, but it's a lot of the same stuff. But just airport construction and design it's crazy. Some of the airports, because again, London Stansted would be is the size of some regional airports here. It might be smaller than Centennial in Colorado. I don't know. And they're big, heavily trafficked airports, which makes it kind of fun for traffic. Especially at VATSIM traffic levels. Where sometimes, especially in Indy Center and the Midwest, a lot of those airports they have a lot of capacity and they don't get filled up that much, usually. Except for an event, except for the odd F&O. But just interesting. It's just interesting how the world differs in those ways. We get left with a ton of these big, long runways. And a lot of these Air Force bases, when they're done, they get turned into general aviation air bases if no one wants to fly big jets in them. Let's see, let's try Atlanta. And so, knocking on wood, we do still have Chicago approach online, which is good. We're getting close to Dayton now. And again, we're visiting Dayton because of the Wright Brothers connection for the most part. Also, home to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, as well as Dayton International. But we're mostly visiting for the Wright Brothers connection, so we're flying over what used to be Montgomery Park Airport, and they renamed it in favor of the Wright Brothers. Now, I'm not sure exactly where Huffman Prairie is. So Huffman Prairie Flying Field is actually on the site of the modern Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, which is, if we can see it, up that way. So that should be it to the north and west of the airport. So Wright-Patterson, that's where the actual Huffman Prairie site is, where they tested their first airplanes and had a hangar down there. Obviously, the Wright brothers, they learned all this stuff about engineering and mechanics from owning bicycle shops in the Dayton area. But so out there, Wright-Patterson, that kind of area would be where they do a lot of that testing early on. And again, in those early days and into, I mean, not even that early, into the 30s, you could have aerodromes, which are just grass fields. You could take off any direction, whatever the ways the winds were required you to. So again, Dayton, we also have the National Museum of the Air Force, which is a good visit if you're ever in the Dayton area. Lots of cool planes there, lots of good Air Force stuff. Downtown Dayton. Here, along the Miami River. And again, if we follow the road down that way, we head to Cincinnati.
At flight level 360.
But we're flying over Montgomery Park Airport. This is a fun, interesting one too. I've flown in here a couple times in sim. It's just kind of this triangular shape with the ramps pushed back off a little bit. This is just kind of a general aviation airport south of Dayton. Now, if I recall, we're above the class Charlie for Dayton. Yeah, so the Charlie goes up to 5,000 feet. We're at 5,500. So even if we were in the area, which we're not.
Yeah.
But this is basically where we are. Right here, coming up on the airport. In fact, we're passing it. We have passed it now. We're going to make a right turn now, heading 279 for the Shelbyville VOR. Coming in now. 279 to the Shelbyville VOR. So we're going to cross the rest of Ohio and cross into Indiana shortly. Again, Cincinnati off to our left. Cincinnati, Kilo, Charlie, Victor, Golf, Covington. That's what it comes up as, but that's Northern Kentucky Cincinnati International Airport, which is, Cincinnati's international airport, but it's across the border in Kentucky. So Cincinnati is in Ohio, on the Ohio side of the Ohio River, and but the airport's on the other side of the river. That's why it's a strange naming convention. We'll keep on trucking for the next about 70 miles. Coming up on 8:40. What did I say? 9 o'clock to switch to the aux tanks. So we'll go ahead and do that. One thing we can probably do that I have forgotten is to turn off the aux pumps. We don't really need it right now until we go to change the tanks. Let's also check our passenger comfort. Cabin's cool and steady. Let's see if we can warm it up just a little bit more. We'll open up cabin air and a little bit of forward cabin air. We're running the heater, so that should help. So thank you all for coming along here on our flight. Transcon 2022, this is the third leg of an indeterminate number as we cross the continent of North America. We touched the Atlantic Ocean, departing out of Montauk, New York, on the edge of Long Island, flew past the city. Then we visited Gettysburg and Allegheney County Regional Airport, and that's where we departed from today. Departed Allegheney County right around Pittsburgh. And we are now flying. We flew south of Columbus, Ohio. We're just about across the state of Ohio and crossing into the second to last state we're going to be in today is Indiana. So off our nose, it'll come in again, about 70 miles. We're going to fly to the Shelbyville VOR, which is south and east of the city of Indianapolis. Indianapolis is, again, a city I've been to a few times. The home of the Indianapolis Colts. And maybe more famously, the Indianapolis 500, one of the biggest motor races in the world. I believe we're coming up on the 107th running this next May. But every Memorial Day weekend, there's the Indianapolis 500, which is IndyCar, which is America's open wheel racing series. It's the biggest race of that, biggest race in that series. It's a 2-mile oval, but kind of a square oval. It's pretty neat. Also a great museum if you're in Indianapolis. But that's the Brickyard. So we may be able to see it. I don't think we're going to be kind of north of it, although we could have overflied the field if we really wanted to. But Shelby, we'll kind of fly over the north side of Indianapolis on our way to Chicago from there. Weather so far is looking good, but let's go ahead and get a forecast for Chicago. So, Chicago O'Hare International Airport right now. We're showing winds 130 at 4, 17 degrees C, which is close to 20-something, which is close to 70 F or something. Altimeter 3015. Got a 25,000-foot ceiling, broken clouds, 10-mile visibility at Ord. We're going to have a lot of runways to choose from, but we're going to be talking to Chicago O'Hare approach. So we will see, and then I haven't decided if we want to fly in VFR or IFR right now. Let's just check the TAF. We should be there in about an hour and change. Let's check the TAF. We're just gonna, so it sounds like the wind, looks like the wind's gonna be still around 130, maybe shifting 200. And then what does that mean for O'Hare?
American 170 to
O'Hare is a bunch of parallel runways like we're talking about. There are some crossings. But I would imagine they'll shove us out on... Where's the FBO, I wonder? Huge airport, of course. The general aviation ramp's on the north side. So I imagine they'll put us off on 27 right. Or maybe 9 left if they're landing east. I'm not sure what we're going to be doing. So let's do some digging and figure out what they're going to be doing. Don't have to dig too hard because they have Chicago approach online. So Chicago, ATIS information X-ray, 2351 Zulu, wind 1304, 10 surface mile visibility, broken clouds, 25,000, 1806, altimeter 3015. Arrivals expected vectors, ILS 27 right approach, ILS 2728 approach, or 27 right 28 center is what we're expecting. So we'll expect vectors 27 right and all that. So let me just refresh my memory on the Bravo. So we'll be hitting the Chicago Bravo, I mean right around crossing Chicago Heights. So Chicago Heights, crossing that, we'll probably get in touch with, we'll call up Chicago Approach if they're still online. So let's go back to the map. So obviously we've got the Chicago Bravo, which is 3,600 feet to 10,000 feet. Now, if they can't accommodate us for whatever reason, then we can go to the west. Well, we know they're actually landing. They're landing west. So we'll turn, if they can't accommodate us into the Bravo straight away, we'll turn right at Chicago Heights and then fly this way. And we can sink under the Bravo to, 2,500 feet and fly up the coast a little bit until they're ready to clear us into the Bravo, and then we'll land. But, so that'll be a little bit, I don't want to say tricky, because it's not really tricky. We've just got to call up whoever's manning a Chicago Approach and tell them we're Twin Cessna 866 Tango Whiskey. We'd like to enter the Class Bravo airspace. We're requesting clearance into the Bravo. Intention of landing, full stop at Chicago O'Hare. Something like that. And then they'll get us the rest of the way. Just checking everything else. The engines are in fact still spinning, which is good. I'm getting a little less power on the right engine than the left. That could be as a prop RPM. Being just a little bit out. Fuel check, we are at about 150 pounds, maybe 160. Still burning about 100 pounds per hour. Just a mains or an aux fuel check. We have about 100, a little less than 100 pounds in both aux tanks. Looks like maybe 80 pounds in both tanks. So we'll go over to those and we'll use that. And as we get to the other side, our Washington Center ambiance isn't going to be as strong. I'm getting just a little bit of precip on Simple Pro. Let's see what SkyVector says. I don't think SkyVector really agrees. Eddie, welcome aboard. Thanks for coming along on this flight. We are flying to Chicago as leg 3 of Transcon 2022. Make sure you vote in the poll to register where you think we should go. The 3 choices are we can follow Route 66 once we hit Chicago to the Pacific. We can go over the Great Plains and the big mountain states, the big sky country, through the Dakotas and Montana, or we can make a beeline for Denver. Thank you all for coming along. We have probably about an hour to go, or so. We've got about 15 minutes till we hit Shelbyville, VR, and then we'll be flying in and around Indianapolis. We'll hang out around Indy for a little bit. Maybe we'll overfly the racetrack. We'll overfly the Brickyard, and then head north to Chicago Heights. And if we're lucky, we might just get some ATC. But we are flying the Blackbird Cessna 310R. Good fun airplane. In our 866 Tango Whiskey topographic livery that I have thrown together. And we wanted, we got sick of hills. We're now in plains, and we're in plains for a long time, no matter which way we go. Terrain, not a huge factor. And so are we legally into Indiana? Let's see. Oh yeah, we are. We're in Indiana now. Just passing over Connersville. Or so, and then we'll hit Shelbyville, which again is outside of Indianapolis. Once we hit Indianapolis, we'll fly over the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And then turn north towards the Chicago Heights VOR. We are taking the scenic route on this one, so it's about, we're probably added a half hour or so to our flight, as opposed to going basically directly from Pittsburgh to Chicago, over, which would take us over Canton, south of Cleveland, and then kind of close to Fort Wayne, Indiana. A little more of a straight shot, but it's more fun this way. Again, definitely make sure you vote in the poll for where we should go next after this. That is our in-stream poll for today. Your in-stream entertainment. And other than that, we're just kind of chilling and managing the systems. 310's been running pretty well. People are cool and steady. And yeah, so we did also have some clouds coming out of Allegheney County, but we were able to get out. Based on the weather, I think it's going to get worse. I'm not sure, though. We can dim these lights out the rest of the way. But beautiful weather now that we've crossed out of this, and a little bit warmer too. But just very rainy in the eastern U.S. right now. But the Midwest getting some sun. Eddie, you love the line, the 310. Me too. It's a good plane. It's my, it's just my go-to. I don't know, you know. If I'm doing a GA flight, it really is my go-to.
Delta 23 approaching Common Sun.
Get a little more. That'll work. And a nice long trip, multi-leg trip like this lets us take advantage of some of the state-saving stuff too, in a way that my sporadic flying on channel doesn't really. So I do appreciate that.
Delta 1523, top of descent.
So good coverage on VATSIM tonight in the south. Oh, looks like we got so we got Chicago Center online too. So workload permitting, we'll tune into Chicago Center when we get there, and kind of cross into the airspace, and we'll pick up flight following, and just kind of prime the pump to get into Chicago. Okay. Our other option would be now, before we cross the border, to file an IFR flight plan into Chicago O'Hare. Let's see, how busy is it? There's right now 4 arrivals, 7 departures, so it's not that busy. We should be okay. And if we need to divert somewhere or go somewhere, we can go to Indianapolis. We should have plenty of fuel. So we're now, yeah, we're really out over the Midwest now. Flying over the town of Rushville. Rushville will pass to the north of Shelbyville. And then we'll start making our, we'll be kind of on approach to Indianapolis. Now, in the Indianapolis Class Charlie Airport, let's just take a look at this real quick while we're at it. Let me bump this out too a little bit. Sky Vector, we want to go to 90%. Screen. So Eddie, that this is the GTN 750. This is the PMS GTN 750, I believe. So if you go into options here, it's one of the avionics. that you can use. It's a choice on the tablet. It's a separate mod if you download the... It's a free one. I use the free version. You can pay for more too. But the PMS 50 GTN 750 is the free panel. The TDS GTN 750 is a paid add-on. I don't think there's a free version for that one. So I just use the free GTN 750. You don't get all the features, but I don't need them all. That's my go-to for VATSIM flying. It's a lot easier to use. It's just easier to use in Sim World than the 530. I mean, I like making things hard too, but as much as the next guy, as much as the next simmer, but the GTN 530 is just hard to work with a mouse. And while we're here, I see Chicago Center came online, so let's go ahead and tune that in. 120350. It's a little more relevant. 120350. Might have to bump B-Pilot up too.
Just at 1101 Chicago, turn low, I did. And we can talk back.
And so when we call them up, we'll just reference Chicago Heights VOR.
Just at 1101, radar contact 25 east of Badger. Verify your flight level for me.
But I don't think I ever finished talking about Indianapolis. So we're coming in on Indianapolis now. We're gonna hit the Shelbyville VOR and then kind of turn north. Now we can overfly this. We can overfly the city too, because we're at 5,500 feet, so we would stay clear of the Class Charlie, and there's no one online anyway. So we could swing. We'll probably swing a little bit to the west of our magenta line and fly over the Speedway and Lucas Oil Stadium and stuff like that in downtown Indianapolis. And yeah, so you do have to download it separately from the website, and then you just enable it here in the tablet like you would with the other ones. That should be it. So yeah, just enable it there, and then you're done. And that's the one I like. For the more complex flying, unless I'm really going radio navigation. But that's not what this is really about. Let's go up here and just keep an eye out for Indiana. We got another airplane. Contrails off to our left. Who is that and where are they going? So that looks to be Southwest 340. Maybe I'll use yeah, so Southwest 341 departed Chicago Midway a little bit ago. They're heading to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Little 370 up there, so that's Southwest 341. Now is this Spirit coming our way? No, they're going to Indy. So there is a Spirit coming into Indy that we'll also have to keep an eye out for. The website is, oh boy, let me pull it up. $750. Let's see if it'll let me do this. I don't know if it'll let me do this. So yeah, that website, and then
turn left, direct Haley.
I've never felt the urge to buy the premium, but if you're into it, really into it, you can. But I use the GTN 750 free version, which gives you all the basics. Coming up on the Shelbyville VOR now, and I'm going to go ahead and put us back into heading mode. Just hold heading roughly this way. Nope, I should do this from the pilot's seat. And so we're just going to overshoot our little course here and then turn right. Back at it. And then let's see, if we check into Chicago Center, are there any other VORs we can use? We can use Kokomo. So the Kokomo VOR 113.5 might be an option. Just north of Kokomo, Indiana, or we could pick up the Boiler VOR 115.1. I'm just pulling up a Navi to give Center a reference point when we call them in and say,
Chicago Center, Delta 312, flight level 320. Delta 312, Chicago Center, hello, Ivan. Delta 312, radar contact 20 southeast Fort Wayne, welcome. Delta 12, we have a request. Go ahead. Hey, yeah, my partner is Delta 721, Gary's coming to your airspace. He's going to disconnect him the minute you page him, so he's going to go ahead and page him now. I don't know if I can get into that sort of this sort of antics, you know. I'll just give you a heads up either way. He doesn't do controllers on that stuff. Virtual FAA might be angry at me if I start doing that, you know.
range.
Okay, so can you ask your buddy a question for me? Because I've been dying to know. If he doesn't do controllers on that, then why is he on that? Mainly to fly with myself at Delta 1011. That's about it. Only to CS. Okay, I guess that makes sense. You also convince him to stay on through my airspace. I promise I'm nice.
We're past Shelbyville now, and we're going to look for some others too that we can pull up. Well, obviously we have the Kokomo VOR here.
802, contact Chicago, approach 110.
And when we can also punch in
Also the approach
115.1 was the Boiler VOR. We're just about getting into Indy now. We'll go ahead and start a right-hand turn. We're going to fly basically over downtown. See if we can't pick up the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Indianapolis Motor Speedway, again, home of the Indianapolis 500. The premier open-wheel race in the United States. The crown jewel of the IndyCar calendar. Really cool racetrack. Have a really cool museum if you're into racing. There's downtown Indianapolis there. I mean, the racetrack in the area has its own zip code. So they take racing very seriously here. You can start to see Lucas Oil Stadium there too, home of the Indianapolis Colts. Let's keep the turn going. In fact, I might even hand fly it. So we just got to stay above, I mean legally above 5,500, but legally above 5,000 feet. Or talk to the imaginary controller online. But again, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, or the Brickyard, because it was originally paved with bricks, and they leave a strip of bricks at the start-finish straight, and that is where Republic Airways, which is headquartered in Indianapolis, gets its call sign. So when you hear a Republic on VATSIM under the call sign Brickyard, that is the reference. They're referencing the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and the Indy 500. So maybe, I mean, you know, it's one of the big racing cities in the U.S. It's up there with, I'd say, Dayton or Daytona and Charlotte. But just as part of like the everyday culture, everybody pays attention to the Indy 500 in Indianapolis in a way that's really unique. I don't know if that's the same in Daytona or in Charlotte's big NASCAR country.
Right, Indy.
That's a stutter. Woo. I mean, if we do keep an eye out, we have a Spirit, it looks like, landing at Indianapolis International Airport. which is out that way. And there he is. So there's the Spirit. That's Spirit 7759. Came out of Chicago Midway. Nice short flight. On final approach for Indianapolis. Then that's Indianapolis Airport, International Airport off to our left, 2 parallel runways and a crossing runway. Big FedEx hub, so lots of FedEx airplanes into and out of Indianapolis. Let's see if we can see a yellow airplane. I think we're probably still too far away to get a yellow airplane, but you can see the Indianapolis Motor Speedway there, the big oval, as the Spirit crosses below us. And I have lost the Spirit, so I do want to keep an eye out for him. There he is. So that's the Spirit on final, just over the speedway. Just do an altitude check. We're good. Obviously, being VFR and on Unicom, we need to see the traffic and avoid. And I do have Unicom tuned in. I'm listening on Com 2, so we're listening to Chicago Center right now on Com 2. But we have Unicom on Com 1. That does look like a yellow airplane. So the FST LTL model matching seems to be working. And there's Indianapolis Motor Speedway there. So again, 2 miles, 4 corners, one of the fastest races in the world. 500 miles. Run every Memorial Day weekend. Also, this is a circuit that has hosted some F1 races on the road course layout too. I think the last one they hosted was in the mid-2000s. So, but there's some F1 racing that went on. This is the site of the infamous U.S. Grand Prix where only something like 6 cars started the race because they were worried about the tires. So that's the Brickyard. Republic Airlines, open wheel racing, and FedEx, and that's Indianapolis for us. And that's actually not bad. They do get the pagoda pretty well, actually, from this angle. So this is all photogrammetry. It looks pretty decent for a racetrack. I don't know if Indy was photogrammetry originally or if this was a world update. I'm not sure. Alright, so let's get back on the horse and get down to 5,500 feet. We're going to head north of Indianapolis now, passing Speedway, and then we're going to cross into Chicago Center here in a second. So we will tune that up on 12035. 12035. Let's just get into the headspace of flying on VATSIM.
Any traffic advised, Fairwing 759, section of the ramp via Bravo 7, Bravo, Romeo, uniform to the ramp.
We'll just punch in as
701 mid-east closed, radar service terminated, frequency change for incoming flight.
Order virus frequency Southwest 701, have a good night. Yep.
And from this point, we're going to basically fly inbound to the Chicago Heights VOR. So that's going to be 114.2. I'm going to put that in on nav 2. because I'm out of nav 1s. So we're 40 south of Kokomo. Or we could be, I guess we're 54 southwest of Whaler. So either way, we're really going to be kind of southeast of, we'll call, yeah, so we'll get a little closer to, well, Kokomo will work.
Westjet 1101, Cleveland is closed, radar service terminated, frequency change, take care.
Say no problem. Westjet 1101.
So once we get, we'll get a little bit further north, we'll get truly into their airspace. Just as a reference, here's what we're looking at. We're the purple plane, obviously, heading north, and just north is Chicago Center. Now, we're a VFR plane on a VFR flight plan, so we don't have a ton to talk about right now, but we're going to pick up flight following from them, or attempt to pick up flight following, and that'll just kind of grease the skids getting into O'Hare. So he can hand us off and to approach, and they can clear us into the Bravo and do all the stuff they need to do. But that's going to ultimately be our responsibility to hear cleared into the Chicago Class Bravo airspace. So we get a little bit of VATSIM coverage. It's good. We're still about 100 miles south of Chicago Heights. But we can look at the DME here, tell us how far we are from the VOR. I have in nav 1 Kokomo now, and we'll just call that out. I can also kind of reference the purple line on VATSIM just to tell us kind of where we are. I mean, we're flying past India Executive now.
Chicago Center, Delta 1011.
So we're basically 30 south.
Delta 1011, Chicago Center, good evening, IDEN.
IDEN, Delta 1011.
Delta 1011, your radar contact 30 northeast, Fort Wayne, welcome.
So thank you all for coming. We're getting ready to hit Chicago Center now.
Delta 1011, clear direct.
Fly through the northern part of Indianapolis and Indiana.
Say again for Delta 1011.
Up towards Lake
Delta
Michigan.
1011, clear direct Robbie.
Alright, direct Robbie.
There is some traffic into and out of Chicago O'Hare. We're a VFR plane flying in, so we'll expect some vectors. The other thing that we can do while we're here, well, how much fuel? We have 100 pounds of fuel in each tank, so there's not really a need to go to aux tanks right now. We will if we have any delays getting into O'Hare, we'll go to the aux tanks. But we have 100 pounds of fuel and probably about 45 minutes to go. Yeah, maybe we'll burn. It's a little close. We'll burn some of that fuel up. So let's make our mixtures rich. Right fuel pump on, and we'll switch over to the right aux. Make sure the engine stays on. And it does. So let's lean it back out. Boost pump can come off. Let's richen up the right mixture, or the left mixture. Left pump to low. All while I'm turning, I should focus on the turn. So I'm gaining altitude like crazy. And then left fuel pumps, make sure everything stays on. Looking pretty good. Lean out the mixture again. And boost pumps off. So we'll do that again before, probably once we're hitting Chicago Heights, let's remind ourselves to switch back to the main tanks. Once we hit Chicago Heights, now we're looking for a direct track about 323. So let's fight 323 that way. We're on the line and we're about, we'll call up about 20 miles southeast of Kokomo. I'm also going to go over to Chicago Center for the moment. So thank you all for coming. If you're just coming along, make sure you register your opinion on where we should fly next in the stream poll for your in-stream entertainment. We are about 100 miles out of Chicago now. We're flying to the Chicago Heights VOR. We're about to call up Chicago Center and request some flight following to get us into Chicago Heights. So we'll hold 5,500 feet. I'm just going to throw the autopilot on so that I'm not thinking about talking and flying at the same time. Center's doing a little text chat right now. So what are we going to say when we call them? We're going to, so who are we? We are Cessna, we're twin Cessna 866 Tango Whiskey. We are about 20 southwest of the Kokomo VOR. Requesting flight at 5,500, requesting flight following. That sounds like we have a little bit of a lull. Still waiting on the text chain to just die down a little bit. Durham, if I'm saying that right, welcome aboard. Thanks for coming along. I enjoy making them. Diving a little deeper into the 310. It's been fun lately. All right, so we're 23 southwest. Well, we're close enough to 20 southwest. Let's call up Chicago Center. Make sure I'm on frequency 120.35. We are. Chicago Center, good evening. Twin Cessna 866 Tango Whiskey. We're about 23 miles southwest of the Kokomo VOR at 5,500 feet, requesting flight following.
Twin Cessna 866 Tango Whiskey, Chicago Center, hello, squawk 1327, Lafayette altimeter 3016.
1327 in the box for 866 Tango Whiskey. One 327. Did I get that right? I don't know. All right, so we've done that. So 114.2 on nav. If you do need to change it in here, 114.2. I have a stream deck that I use for all the.
Resume normal speed. Climb and maintain flight level 350.
I use a stream deck for all of the all the radio stuff. That's the biggest thing that's helped, especially for airliners. And flying on VATSIM is just having an actual, just having an extra control so that you don't have to look around to punch in a frequency makes it so much easier. So if you're, I highly recommend that if you can get it. And Stream Deck works pretty well for it. But if you need to do it actually the old school way, we can do that way. I'm going to roll us just a little bit. To the right, we're heading to Chicago Heights. And then at Chicago Heights, we'll basically just say, hey, we're looking to enter the Bravo to land at O'Hare. And they should tell us, hey, you can go in O'Hare airspace, or please don't go in O'Hare airspace. Other options, I mean, not that we'll get denied, because it's not that busy, and, well, we shouldn't, but we can always land at Lansing, Chicago Lansing, or we could even go to Gary Regional if something comes up. And we are on the aux tanks. We're still burning about 100 pounds an hour. So thank you all for coming along here on leg 3. We're out over Chicago. Lots of great planes coming up. We got some great planes knocked out, but a lot coming up. As a poll update, who's winning? Looks like Route 66 has 75% of the vote. Great Plains has 25%, and Straight to Denver has none. Good night on VATSIM. Decent traffic. O'Hare isn't too busy. 2 arrivals, 8 departures.
Center United 1744, can we give it a 10 minutes wait, please?
We're just kind of hanging out here. 5,500. We're still we're maintaining VFR. We're not, we're getting flight following, but we're, you know, we haven't received an explicit instruction, so we're still clear to do whatever we want to do. We'll just put ourselves nicely on the magenta line. Maybe for the next Transcon we can, we can try to radio nav our way across, but for now I'm alright with this. Let's pick up an updated forecast. If we check out, did we lose the ATIS at O'Hare? It looks like we did.
About 849 or 841.
And then I got an, I did get a new altimeter of 3016. And midway altimeter 3016, winds 100 at 3 knots. So
about 829, Chicago Center radar contact 5 East Fort Wayne, welcome.
I do assume that that's similar there. And so tonight, Chicago's been landing west. We'll see if they keep that up. I haven't seen any, doesn't look like there's any traffic out of there yet right now. At least in the air. So we'll check out what their ATIS says. But they've been in west flow to this point. But we'll see.
Chicago Center, good evening, Walker 1908, 27 south of the boiler, BOR level 340. Walker 1908, Chicago Center, radar contact, squawk 1322. 1322, Walker 1908.
Oh, and so we can put that actually into the main one. Heading to Chicago Heights. So let's just do a little bit, we'll do a little bit of an arrival briefing now. So Sim Toolkit Pro, let's pull up Navigraph. So Chicago Airport is here. I saw them landing 27 right. Or 27 left, maybe 27 left. So I imagine we'll get one of these guys on the north side. When we get down, we're going to ask for the general aviation ramp here. just off of
1908, I
runway
have a slight amendment to your route advisor.
27 center.
Pretty copy, Walker 1908.
So that's kind of what I'm expecting.
Clear to the Kenosha Airport
Somewhere up
via
there,
direct
and they've been landing
Zimmel,
west all night,
direct
so on the
XR,
27s.
direct Zimmel was spelled Zulu.
What would be really nice is
Mike,
27
Echo,
center and then sending us back around, but we'll see. So let's pin that, if I can. And just checking out some ILS approaches.
Direct Zimmel, then XR.
Not that we need it, but 27 center is a candidate. 27 left is a candidate, and they might send us out to 27 right too. 27 right's a ways away, but that's fine. So it's all pretty similar. ILS minimums 864 feet. We're not going to be all the way out here. We're going to get, I think we'll get vectored in pretty close in, most likely. But we'll see. So, again, walking through the procedure as we get in close to O'Hare. Can't wait for the VFR map.
1744 is back with you.
But once we get into VFR, once we get into O'Hare, we will, if we're hitting Chicago Heights, and we haven't heard anything, once we hit Chicago Heights, we'll state our intentions to land at Chicago O'Hare. At that point, they'll probably clear us into the Bravo or do whatever else they have to do, vector us around Midway, or whatever ATC has to do. We will follow their directions from that point, expecting to land west at Chicago O'Hare on one of the 27s, most likely, and then taxi into general aviation ramp. So just kind of a brief about some of the things we can do and expect to do here. So it should be fun. We got all those frequencies up if we need them. But it's not, this isn't a Boeing, so it's not as complicated to punch all that in. We do have everything on. We'll need to turn our landing lights on. Prop heat, pitot heat is on. It doesn't look like any de-icing is going to be necessary. I did say I was going to get the weather, and then I lied. So the most recent weather at Chicago O'Hare is, we got reporting wind, real world METAR is reporting winds 150 at 5, 10 mile visibility, no ceiling, scattered clouds at 25,000 feet. Altimeter 3016, which is what we have, and scattered clouds with 16.7 C, which is something in F's. Not sure what is in F's, and I forget how to change it. METAR to F. Thankfully, it's telling me inches of mercury, so that's good. I guess I could look it up in the flight summary too here.
Walker 1908, cross 60 miles south of Zimmel, 60 south of Zimmel at a maintained flight level 240. 60 south at flight level 240, Zimmel for Walker 1908.
We're hanging out. We got full fuel going. Got Unicom on Com 2. Let me just, this, it looks like we got
Miles 829, descend at pilot's
O'Hare
discretion,
Tower.
level 240.
Pilot discretion 240.
Again, now that we're in ATC land, we're listening for 866 Tango Whiskey. Anything Tango Whiskey, really, ending in Tango Whiskey. Twin Cessna 866 Tango Whiskey. Or Twin Cessna 6 Tango Whiskey, if they want to shorten it. About 59 now southeast of Chicago Heights, VOR. Which will kind of be our decision point. We're at 5,500 feet. I'm not too worried about altitude at this point. Again, I assume once we're into the flow of the big jets, not that there are a ton right now, but once we're into the flow, they'll get us down to 3,000 feet and we can do whatever we need to do. There are some flights coming into Midway, but I think actually most of what's left is departures from O'Hare. 7 departures coming out, 3 arrivals. It's good fun. Let's get some wing views going out over northern Indiana. You might be, yeah, we're not really that close to Illinois yet.
Executive 219, Chicago Center on a crest demo. Executive 219, you're cleared to the Midway Airport via radar vectors ugly in the ND6 arrival. On departure, maintain.
And there will be plenty of longer legs, I think, too, over the next few. Kind of no matter which way we go, we're going to be flying over a lot of empty ground. Or not empty ground, but there will be some longer legs coming up. So we may do a true, we might do a true push this, see how far we can go.
Ready for departure.
Economy cruise kind of thing. Get real high and, you know, 10, 12, 14,000 feet and go that way. Just doing a check out of the engines. Lean it out a little more. But yeah, so far couldn't ask for better weather. We left Allegheney, it was a little dicey, but real good weather now.
Disclosed, radar service terminated, frequency change. Have a good flight.
And as we get closer to Chicago Heights, we'll also start thinking about flipping back over to the mains.
United 1744.
Now let me see what my desired inbound course to Chicago Heights is. 324. That's pretty close to what we're doing. Excuse me. I have to log in. Yeah, maybe Snip. It's the 3 dots by the search icon. I might have to log in. It just sometimes does it. And now I'm in a... Oh, I didn't know there's a dark mode. You know, I used to hate dark mode, and then I have to log in for that too. I think I have a login. But, I don't remember what it is. Anyway. I used to hate dark modes, and now I just can't. I love it. I can't get enough of it. When I was in school, I used to be a light mode purist, and just, I can't imagine. But it's just weird. Like, so METAR TAP's weird because it flips back and forth sometimes. Like, sometimes it gets what I'm going for. And I'm, like, flying in Dublin, and it switches to hectopascals and Celsius. And then when I go back to the US, it usually switches back to inches of mercury and Fahrenheit. But it hasn't this time. Or it's done inches of mercury, but not C's to F's. So it's just a weird one. I could log in, but that would make sense if that's what you have to do. I just wanted to anticipate my needs is all. But thank you for the tip. So we're getting a little off now. Let's do a little course correction. It doesn't look like we still have... I'm not getting the Chicago Heights DME yet, but we will get there. This is one we have in the, you know, hard-coded into the GPS. So it's
Southwest 312, minis closed, radar service terminated, frequency change.
not a huge deal. Let's just keep...
Operating service will see you later. Self-control.
Yeah, so, I mean, I don't know what the rhyme or reason is. Usually it works, but sometimes I do an international flight, and, like, maybe it is. Maybe I have to refresh it. Let's try that. Let's try refreshing it, because maybe that's what it is. I'm also doing this inside Sim Toolkit Pro, so maybe it doesn't remember all my... I don't know. It's not in a normal browser. So let's do another test. Okay, so I got it on Sim Toolkit Pro. And then let's see what we got outside of Sim Toolkit Pro. Nah, it's still doing that. Weird. It must be my computer. I don't know. But that is the other thing, that if you don't know, Sim Toolkit Pro can display web pages on tabs in the bottom, which is just so nice. I didn't realize it could do that. It's just nice for streaming because I can pop it up in Sim Toolkit Pro. It's a little smaller, but it's all in one app. So, just a pro tip, if you like Sim Toolkit Pro, all this stuff down here are like apps you can put in. So I can punch in my Navigraph, I can have Sky Vector, I can have, you know, the FAA Digital ATIS site, and, you know, we could go to Award. But anyway, just a neat feature I didn't realize, and it makes my stuff really easy. I also have a custom checklist thing here. This is just a little HTML script I did so that I can pull up the different PDFs on my document within Sim Toolkit Pro. Kind of neat, if I do say so myself. I haven't actually populated it or made it look good, but fun things you can do. So it's pretty capable, actually. I was surprised. So I'm gonna say 20 south of Chicago Heights. We'll flip back over to main tanks and get ready to go into get ready to land. The competition for landing at O'Hare, they're going to Kenosha. Walker's going to Kenosha.
Walker 1908, descend to maintain 16,000, the Milwaukee altimeter 3015, now to 16 and plan for Zimmel at 10. Okay, down to 16, copy the altimeter and Zimmel at 10, Walker 1908.
I wonder if we still have that. I'm not sure.
Cessna 6 Tango Whiskey, Lansing altimeter 3017.
Altimeter 3017 at Lansing, thank you. 3017. Right. We're in the home stretch now. System's looking good. Just doing a scan. We're down to about 50 pounds in our aux tanks. We started around 80, so we burned about half of the aux tanks. We are burning significant fuel. I mean, we're in a, you know, we're in a high power cruise setting right now. We're making 170 knots over the ground. So, So certainly not going for max efficiency, and we're, you know, we're about pushing reserves, I'd say. I'm not pushing reserves. We still have about an hour. Let's see, we have about 100 in the mains. Yeah, a little more than 100 actually, 150.
Market 1908.
So we have about 2 hours. At this rate, we have about 2 hours of fuel.
At 10,000, market 1908. Delta 1011 cross Robbie at a maintain.
We pull power back, we could almost have our fuel consumption, but. So if you're just joining us, thank you for coming along. We are flying Transcon 2022. This is the third leg of an indeterminate number where we cross North America. We are inbound to Chicago now. We departed out of New York, and we're heading westbound. We are currently in Chicago, getting ready to head to the Chicago Heights VOR, 27 miles. And after that, we will be entering the Chicago Class Bravo to land our small plane at Big O'Hare. Small plane at Big O'Hare. We departed Allegheney County Regional Airport about 2 hours and change ago. We're making good time. We have Chicago Center online for the moment, which is good.
Market 1908, Kenosha altimeter 3016. Would you like a visual or an RNAV to 25 right? I would take the visual for 25 right, Walker 1908. 1908, right, connect.
And if you are just joining us, make sure you vote in the stream poll. Vote in the stream poll to record where you think we should go next. Choices are Route 66,
Dictate 219, you
Great
are released
Plains,
for departure in a controlled airspace heading 09
or make a beeline for Denver. Currently, 66 is
not off
winning.
in 5 minutes. It's not off in 5 minutes. Advise me on this frequency no later than 10 minutes of your intentions. Frequency change approved.
And again, at 20 miles from Chicago Heights, we'll go ahead and flip back over to the main tanks. Do our little dance. And, yeah, then we'll just keep going in.
Hermanos 829, descend to maintain 3000, Burlington altimeter 3015. Advising you heavy weather and NOTAMs at Burlington and same type approach requested.
Down to 3000, we'll let you know when you have the weather and approach request.
So Chicago, where the city we're heading for, is the third most populous city in the United States after New York City and Los Angeles. Obviously, we passed New York City on leg 1. But it sits on Lake Michigan, so if you don't think of Chicago as kind of a waterfront city, you're wrong. Lake Michigan, big impact on it. Home of the Chicago Bears, Chicago Cubs, Chicago White Sox, and the Bulls. Obviously Michael Jordan and all that stuff. So it's a big city. Big city.
Project at 219, Chicago Center, radar contact 3 northeast of Waterloo. Climb maintain flight level 250, clear direct Dudley.
Population about 2.7 million.
Twin Cessna 6 Tango Whiskey, contact Chicago approach 119.0, good night.
119.0, thanks, 866 Tango Whiskey. Alright, we're going to approach. That caught me off guard a little bit. 1190. Chicago approach, good evening. Twin Cessna 866 Tango Whiskey. We're 17 south of Chicago Heights, 5,500.
November 866 Tango Whiskey, Chicago departure. November 866 Tango Whiskey, yes, the intention?
We are requesting clearance into the Bravo to land at Chicago O'Hare, 866 Tango Whiskey.
Roger, number 866 Tango Whiskey. You're cleared on Chicago Class Bravo airspace. Maintain VFR altitude at pilot's discretion for now. And you can enter a... Let's say you can enter a left base for runway 28 center.
Alright, we are cleared in Chicago Class Bravo. We'll maintain VFR altitude for now, and we'll make a left base for runway 28, number 866 Tango Whiskey. Alright. 28 center is, I think, on the south side, which was fine. Longer taxi for us, but that's okay. Let's just make sure I know what I'm talking about here. Toolkit Pro. So 28 centers down here. So we would, yeah, kind of go down. We'll do the long taxi. So 28 center, 10,800 feet should be just enough for me. Just enough to float on down, and then so we'll just basically enter a left base. So we'll come in here and make a left. Where's Sky Vector? And we'll, yeah, maintain our own VFR altitude for now. I don't think we're not, you know, I guess we have two-way radio communication with Chicago Pro, so maybe we're okay to go into the, I don't know. Point is, we're good to go, do what we need to do in the Bravo. We'll hang out here at 5,500, probably until we're, maybe not until we're past Midway. We'll take it down to 2,500 over Midway, and then kind of get ready for our base.
Departure, Rico 3 holding short, 4 left on Whiskey, ready for departure.
Rico 3.
Getting ready for our approach. Let's,
Rico 3, turn left heading.
yeah, so we'll kind of aim to cross,
250 on 8. 4 left to takeoff.
cross Midway
Confirm left heading, that was 250.
at 2,500.
Alright, clear, right head, turn heading, 250, and we're clear for takeoff, 4 left, Rico 3.
So the ILS for 2, we'll just pull up the ILS, the localizer frequency for 28. That's going to be on 10895. With a final approach heading of 273. I'm just going to put that in here for now because I have this, you know, up and ready. And I think we'll take it and hand fly it from there. So we do need to pull our, we need to do our fuel tank. So let's rich the mixture. Fuel pump to low. And just bring it back down to the mains. Make sure nothing shuts off. We'll do the other one real quick. Two propellers are still spinning. That's a good sign. Your box pumps off and then lean it back out a little bit. Don't have to lean it out too much. We're almost there, but we're back on our main tanks now for the final approach.
Departure Rico 3 off of Midway 1,500 for 3,000, turning left heading 250.
Rico 3. Radar contact climb maintain. Sorry, Rico 3, radar contact climb maintain 15,000.
Climb maintain 15,000, Rico 3.
Alright, so that's my airplane.
And Rico 3 when able, clear direct Rainer.
When able, direct Rainer, Rico 3 going there now.
We'll pull power out a little bit. And we'll head down to 3,500 for now, and then once we're comfortable, we'll head down to 2,500. Magenta line should be taking us directly to O'Hare, so we'll swing a little bit to the right of it. And then, let me check my VATSIM. Is Chicago Tower online? It is 12027. So that's a good number to have handy, 12027. So I've got that programmed in, and we're ready to go. Let's make it happen. So we've got about 32 nautical miles. So I'm going to go down and hang out at 3,500 feet. And then once we're kind of ready to dump the last of it, we'll go down to 1,000 feet. We'll point ourselves in the general direction of O'Hare for the moment. Got the ILS pulled up, but we'll be much tighter than the
Rico 3,
ILS.
just confirm your direct Rainer. It should be to your north.
Yeah, we're having some trouble plugging in the GPS there. We're flying heading 105, trying to intercept it. For some reason, nav's not working. Is that okay?
105 probably won't intercept. I can give you a 360. That'll intercept it.
Roger, fly heading 360, Rico 3.
Making our descent. We're going to pass over Midway on our way in. Get a look at the southwest traffic. I am showing a lot of traffic. Well, I was showing a lot of traffic. A lot of 4 arrivals, 4 departures, so not that much actually. We're just trying to maintain a steady descent to 3,500. Then on the GTN, we can start to see the blue rings of O'Hare coming in. We're coming to 4,500 now. We can basically do a little wing wag over O'Hare, over Midway. We'll hang out here in the Bravo. Even down to 3,500, we're still in the Bravo, actually. The Midway class Charlie goes. The outer ring is 1,900 feet to the top of the, or to the bottom of the. Ceiling is 2, yeah, so the ceiling is 2, but not including the floor of the Bravo. So 2 flight level 360, but not including, or 2 3,600, but not including 3,600. So we're good. We're not messing anything up for Midway. We got the Chicago skyline down there.
Rico, Rico 3, you still on that 360 or you direct Rainer now?
We're still on that 360 heading for Rico 3.
Roger. Clear direct Rainer when able, and just let me know when you are so I can ship you the center.
Roger, clear direct Rainer when able, and we're still working it out, Rico 3, thanks.
No worries. Remember 866 Tango Whiskey, scratch the instructions that I give you on the base tower. I'll give you those. Just fly your present heading, please be on course, and I'll give you over to tower for the pattern entry.
Roger, we'll disregard pattern entry instructions, and we will apply present course 866 Tango Whiskey. That's most eloquent, but that's alright. If our altitude's still my discretion, so I'm going to hang out at... Once we're in that inner ring, we're down to...
Roger, flight 879, Chicago departure. Push on the Yankees approved, tail northeast.
And again, we're maintaining our altitude VFR, and we're going to proceed on course direct to O'Hare, and then Tower will deal with us.
Hey, firm.
And then once we cross over Midway, we're good to go all the way to 3,500. And then I'm just going to keep on course, and then I'll let them figure out where they want us to go. It would be real nice if they put us on the north side, but I doubt there's no arrivals right now. But if they can get us low enough and out far enough, maybe we can get out to a northern runway. That's 3,800. So we're about at the floor of the Bravo now. Chicago Midway Airport, the older airport in Chicago. We've done a video on Midway. We have the Drzewski Designs Midway here down below us, which is awesome, but might cost me some frames as I look at it. Midway is on this kind of patch of photogrammetry that's a slightly different color than the surrounding that way. It's a little bit of a bummer. Much more earth tones. But there it is, Chicago Midway.
Chicago approach, Rico 3 is direct now.
Rico 3, roger, thank you.
And we'll expect them to hand us off to tower soonish. I'm going to start bringing back power and getting a handle on speed.
Rico 3, contact Chicago Center 120.35. Have a nice day.
Chicago Center 120.35, next for the help, Rico 3.
Yeah, number 866 Tango Whiskey, maintain VFR at or below 4,500.
Alright, we'll maintain VFR at or below 4,500, 866 Tango Whiskey. That's 3,500, so that's pretty good. And we could even get a little closer, but it's alright. About 10 south of O'Hare now.
Number 866 Tango Whiskey, contact the O'Hare Tower 120.75. Good day.
Going to tower 120.75, thanks. 866 Tango Whiskey. O'Hare Tower, Twin Cessna 866 Tango Whiskey. We're at 3,500. Looking to land at O'Hare. Oh, 75-12075. To get a chance to over. You get a chance to do over. O'Hare Tower, Twin Cessna 866 Tango Whiskey, 3,000.
Twin Cessna 866 Tango Whiskey, O'Hare Tower, waiting park today.
Oh, we're looking for general aviation parking.
Twin Cessna 6 Tango Whiskey, roger, enter left base, runway 27 center, the O'Hare altimeter 3015.
Alright, we'll enter left base for runway 27 center, 866 Tango Whiskey. Alright, so we got a new run, 86, or left base for 26 or 27 center, which is going to be better for us. So we're going to pull power back and really start our descent in earnest now. We're a little higher than I'd like to be, and that's all right. So the trick's going to be pulling it out, picking out the runway. So we're looking for the second runway north of the terminal. Second runway north of the terminal. And we're going to continue our descent. Just take as little power as I can right now. help us keep kicking it down, and we can pick out to the rest. So that's the terminal. We're looking for the second runway. Second runway to the north of that. So flaps out will help us. It's yelling at me for gear, which is good. Yelling at me as I thought I had hit the button, so it's always helpful. And now we're going to try and ride the blue line until we can get to the runway. So we're at 100 knots now. It's going to take a little bit of power. Let's pull rich. Drop RPM. We'll put it at the top of the green arc for now. Just keep increasing the power until we're maintaining airspeed at this point. So not this runway, but the next one. O'Hare's kind of crazy in that respect. But no need to send us all the way out. And we've got plenty of runway, so if we do land a little fast, it's not the end of the world. Wait,
6 Tango Whiskey, runway 27 center, cleared to land, wind calm.
Runway 27 center, cleared to land at 6 Tango Whiskey. So again, not this runway, not that runway, or not these runways, not that runway, but that runway. And then GA parking should be right next to it. So if we get off pretty quickly, which we should be able to. Shouldn't have a problem doing that. And of course, we can do this. So if it was real busy, they'd probably have to bring us in on 28 center or one of the smaller runways out there, maybe 28 left. Just because we're crossing the final approach for 1, 2, 3, 4 runways. Which would be somewhat limiting in a significant IFR traffic event. But because we're one of the only ones up here, not a huge deal. That's a good base. With that, let me hit record on flight recorder, and we're coming in to land at O'Hare. Overshot just a smidge. Trying to ride the blue line though. Down in. I could turn on we could turn on the localizer for what little it's worth. We can get a glide slope. Although it's telling me, oh, I've got the wrong one in. I've got 28 center in. So that's not really going to help me. Let me get rid of that. Don't want to have a bad indication up there. So we're getting a little fast now. Just riding the blue line. We can go back to about 90 knots now if we really desire to. Wind's calm. Wind's beautiful, actually. I mean, it's... Compared to Allegheney County earlier, it's pretty nice here. Coming into land, don't have a ton of power in right now, just kind of bleed off whatever speed. We're descending 500 feet per minute, pretty good. We've got full flaps out. And just aiming for the touchdown zone. And, I mean, we're coming in a bit fast, but that's not the end of the world here for this approach. Here we are. Keeping power in for the flare. Not bad. We're down. Can we get off at Mike? I don't know. Maybe. We can get off at Mike. See, we don't even have to really taxi. This is nice.
We're 6 Tango Whiskey, right turn Delta to the ramp.
Roger, right turn Delta to the ramp. 866 Tango Whiskey. All right, welcome everybody to... We turn taxi lights on. Lights off, strobe lights off. Beacon on, and we're going to the GA ramp, which should be down here on the corner. If we pull it up here in Centrica Pro. Down here on the corner. Eddie, thank you. It was a fun one. Negative 144 feet per minute. Oh. The bottom really likes to drop out on that.
Tower, good evening. American 801 coming up on 2.
But I mean, it felt pretty good. But that's, I mean, it's
Be ready to go after that.
landing on easy mode with wind calm like that. Big runway. 11,000 foot runway for this plane.
American 801 Heavy over at Tower, say again.
Yes, sir. We're coming up on 2-2 left. If we could have a minute or two, we'll be ready to go after that.
American 801 Heavy, roger. Hold true to runway 22 left, advise when you're ready.
Hold short 2-2 left, and we'll give you a call. American 801.
Now we'll go all the way down to the edge. So, yeah, I guess this is it. So you got the blast shields down here to protect all the little planes like us from the big jets. We'll turn here on Papa Papa and head into the ramp. I assume that's the FBO building, so we'll park up in front of there somewhere. So overall, good flight. We got a good mix of some VATSIM controlling, some nice relaxing flying over the American Midwest, a little bit of history, just good stuff in general. Let's pull it around here and park next to this 172 with a ground power unit, the size of it. Maybe heavier than it. Parking brakes on, and well, we are here.
American 801 Heavy,
All right.
turn left heading 160, runway 22 left, cleared foot, take off.
Props feathering, let me go ahead and turn off our heater. Close all the air out. And then the rest of it should be alright. Cut engines. Magneto's off. Let's crack the door. Close my fuel. If I can get it. Something's doing something. But it's not right in front of us. Nav lights on for now until we get everything cleaned up, but avionics off. And I think that is everything we need. Nav lights can come off. We'll kill the battery. So welcome to Chicago, everybody. Chicago O'Hare. We're here at the General Aviation ramp. Real small, little tiny corner of O'Hare. Good fun flight today, and it looks like, let me end the poll. Route 66 wins 75% of the voting. So we will take the long way down. Probably next is then Kansas City, Missouri after this. So we'll fly south from Chicago. And I'll plan all that out here soon. But we'll fly south across to Kansas City and then continuing on down through a little bit of Colorado, some other states. And taking the desert way through that in the Rockies. Thank you all for coming along today on this flight. It's been a real fun flight. And yeah, I'll try and post the airports we're flying to next time in case anyone wants to hop on VATSIM and give us some traffic to deal with. And yeah, other than that, I hope you guys have a great rest of your evening or day or whatever you're doing. Happy flying, and take it easy, everybody.